Hello, and thank you so much for clicking on this video when you saw it pop up on your feed. If this is your very first time tuning into one of my live videos, my name is Candice Dormon. I'm a wife, a mom, and an entrepreneur, but in this space, I am helping you figure out how to manage family schedules, family planning, all things planning. If you have tuned in recently, you see we're talking a lot about camp, and in relation to that, we are also talking about scheduling and managing the chaos that is family planning in terms of schedules, right? Family planning can mean another thing, but today we're talking about schedules. And to that note, I'm really excited to have a fellow mom and neighbor, close neighbor, Jennifer, joining us today on the show. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for doing all of these interviews. I feel like I learn so much every week.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Sometimes I wonder about that, but I just have all these things in my head that I remind myself I can't be the only one thinking about these things. And if I can get it out of my head and help other people feel like they're not alone in sort of the weight of all the things we have to carry as parents, then I'm totally here for that.
Love it. Definitely.
I was really excited to meet you. We just recently met. Our kids go to the same school, and I don't remember. I don't know who invited who. I can't actually remember, but I'm really into these mom dates, especially now that we can go out again and sort of hang out again in a coffee shop. The idea of inviting a mom out for coffee on like a mom date. My first one was a couple years ago. A mom from one of my son's classes. I had never met her before. We just ran into each other at one of the PTA meetings, and then she followed up and invited me out, and I was like, is this a date? This is amazing. So I'm really into it.
I love that.
Thanks so much for doing that with me, but we should definitely normalize mom dates and really getting to know the people, especially the people that our kids know and love and like. It really helps all around.
Yes, definitely. I love that.
So one of the things that came up in our conversation on that mom date was finding out that you are a fellow planner like myself. So that's what brings us here today. We're going to be talking about planning and scheduling and how we manage that. Thank you for clicking on this video when you saw it pop up on your feed. If this is your very first time catching one of my live videos, my name is Candice Dormon. I'm a wife, a mom, and an entrepreneur. But in this space for the next few months, I am here to help you avoid the overwhelm of summer planning. The problem is, here in New Haven, there are so many programs available. It can be overwhelming to figure out which one is best for your family. So I created a resource to help you make sense of it all. The New Haven Summer Camp Toolkit will save you hours of stress and overwhelm because it puts some of our city's best options all in one place at your fingertips. Deadlines, details, direct links, everything you need to help you make your summer plans without pulling out your hair. So definitely click the link below to grab your copy of the New Haven Summer Camp Toolkit. As a companion to the toolkit, this series of interviews with camp directors will help you get a better understanding of the programs on the list. So let's get to it. And before we jump into that, why don't you give us a little introduction? Tell us a little bit about your family and where you're from.
Sure. So, we're a family of four. So it's me, my husband, and our twin boys who are 8, who go to the same school as Candace's son. And we have 2 cats. We live in New Haven, and we're originally from California. We moved here about 8 years ago.
Nice, nice. It's important to keep the cats in mind, right? Because especially when you're thinking about schedules, you've probably got vet appointments on your calendar and that sort of thing. So,
Absolutely. Anytime we travel, we need to get the cat sitter. It's the whole,
yeah.
yeah. Dogs are a whole, I don't even understand dogs. So that's like a whole other level.
Yeah, we're not a pet family because Lincoln has some allergies. So, thankfully, I don't have to. That's not like one additional thing, but I do think about families I know that have multiple pets and multiple different kinds of pets. It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot. So let's jump into this idea of planning and scheduling for families. Let's start with what's the thing that requires the most planning and thought for you when it comes to family schedules.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it depends on the season, and I think that is speaks to a lot of families. So we're a sports family, so we have baseball in spring, summer. Now we're starting travel hockey in fall, winter. So like the rule is they have to play the same sport and be on the same team. Otherwise, it just won't work. I know a lot of families don't have that luxury with different ages and different abilities and different interests, but that's just the way that it's worked for us. So that's key to our scheduling is of having them on the same track. So I think sports is a big thing to schedule. Luckily, I work from home full time, so I can work from stands, I can work from the rink, I can work basically anywhere. So that has made it possible for us to support their athletics in that way. But definitely, I think this is why I was so drawn to Candice's work is summer camps are the thing that I feel like no one talks about. Everyone struggles through. Like in like talking to Candice, I look back, my first spreadsheet was from 2017 of
Wow.
like just like lists of camps with like, in a Google sheet with like hours and dates and availability and location and it was just like this big puzzle. But I knew that I would need to do this every year, and I knew that I would want to go back to that information to see like what did they do when they were four.
Yeah.
um, what do they like that program? Do they not like it? What can we build on to schedule in and really get to know the options, because there's so many options in New Haven, but a lot of it is word of mouth or being part of a certain social media like group or um, just signing up for the right newsletter. Like it's just so random how you get this information. And so I love that, like, Candice, your work is trying to like bring it all together, make it accessible. And I think my favorite thing that you're doing is hearing from the camp directors. Like I never like I would have loved to do have that insight back when they were four, and I was like, should they go to like Common Ground? Is Hampton Hall a better fit? Like I didn't know. So this is just bringing a lot of that scheduling and planning information to the surface.
I love it. I'm so glad that you're finding it helpful. It's really fun for me to do this kind of research and these sorts of like interviews. This is my favorite thing to do. I've always been chatty, but knowing that people are struggling with this and it's sort of a quiet struggle to have to carry all of this, and we are expected to manage it in our heads, or we think we're expected to manage it in our heads, and it's not until you put it out on paper or in a spreadsheet that you actually see just how much you are trying to manage in your brain and why you fall asleep exhausted every single night. Like it's impossible. It's an
Yes.
impossible task that we put on ourselves.
It really is. I would love, and what you were saying makes me think of, in addition to all the information, there's the camp forms.
Yeah.
How many different times do I have to upload like a doctor's note or like a record, or, if they had things, like they needed an inhaler, how many times do I have to note that? How many?
Yeah.
So I wish there was just like a common application that you could fill out, upload, and then select your camps. That's like the
That's
dream
the
phase
holy
of this.
grail.
Like, just like you apply for school and you're not applying to each, I mean, public school, you put it in for the New Haven lottery and you get the school. But for summer camp, it was like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, in New Haven, and this is not special to New Haven. I think this is special to cities, city centers, and like urban areas, but definitely cities where the idea is to provide. I mean, we have, I don't know, 40,000 kids here. I don't know the number. It could be 20, it could be 40. It's a lot, right? I should look and see how many. But we have so many kids here. And so they have provided, people have provided so many different options, but then it means that it requires another level of management. And like you said, some of these programs are like best kept secrets, and you almost don't want to tell people about it, because for this fear, that fear of lack, or that feeling of lack, that if you tell other people, then you might not get in, right? So you're like, you whisper to your friends, oh, this program is really good, but don't tell everybody, right? And you don't do that maliciously, but at the end of the day, it provides or it creates this like accessibility issue that I feel is across the board with not just summer camps, but in other arenas, right? And so if we can level the playing field and make sure that people all know that they have access to these programs and can find out about them, and if cost is an issue, there are programs that seem expensive but have funding and financial aid, and people just don't know. So that's why I really think it's important to make sure that people have a place to go to get all of this. We're talking 17 New Haven City programs, and the list on the toolkit is already at almost, I think, 20 for New Haven, like private camps, whether they're nonprofits or not, but like not city camps.
Mhm.
And that's only the tip of the iceberg. Like, I haven't even gone super deep, right? So it's
Oh
really
yeah. No, you could
it's a
go
lot.
like I'm now discovering like layers of like specialized sports camps for baseball or
Specialized.
hockey. And then we have like the whole sleepaway camp arena that I'm just now starting to like wade my way through. So
Yeah.
there is a lot. And I feel like there must be families who've done this, who have kids who are like 20 or like much older than our eight,
Yeah.
7, 8 year olds, and it's just the information just isn't available.
Yeah, that's true. So thinking about, so you're a sports family, we've got school stuff. We were talking about our school calendar earlier, and enrichment things, right? Enrichment sports, they sort of overlap. How did you know when you had reached that breaking point where you needed to create a system to manage all of this information?
Yeah, I mean, specifically for summer camp, I heard that when the kids were transitioning from like three, or it was like they were transitioning from daycare to pre-K three, and there's that awkward summer where they didn't necessarily have any summer camp, or I was just trying to get a hang of it. I heard that you have to start in February, like
Yeah.
February is planning for summer, and that was crazy to me. So I started just like, where do I find any information about this? And there used to be a website called Kid Haven, I think, that
Mm,
was run by a local mom, and it had just kind of like a list. So I kind of started going through the list. And then as I was calling and doing website research, I was like, this is just like way too much to keep in my head, because they have different, some offer aftercare, some don't. We're both working full time in person. So we needed, a lot of hours. Some started at 5, which just was not an age that my kids were at yet. Some only offered like a few weeks. So how could I possibly manage the logistical like LSAT question of like, how do I slot two kids of the same age into the same program and feel confident and comfortable, right? Like when they're that little, you still have concerns about, I mean, I guess I still do, about like, are they going to be well taken care of? Are they going to be cared for? Are they going to have friends? So all of that is factoring in, and I just needed to put it in a spreadsheet. So like that was 2017, and we've definitely, as they've gotten older, the options have opened up. At 8, 9, there's so many more choices than there were when they were little. But I don't think I don't know if we talk about that. And is there anything we can do to support the families with the littles who may not have as many choices as those with this kind of older kids?
Yeah, that gap again, I think, is a city specific issue, because our city has pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. So in New Haven, we have children starting school, like real school, at, I don't know, 2.9. Like, they don't have to turn 3 until January, end of December. And so there's a point where our children are old enough to go to school, but not old enough to go to camp. This is really weird in between.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
and
And
they've
where do you
aged
go?
and sometimes they've aged out of daycare, right? I used to own a daycare and I would have kept them a little bit longer. I would have kept them till 5, but there's some other programs that age out at 3 because they know that children are going to go or parents are going to opt to go to preschool. So that's a whole nother, it's like a early childhood
Yeah.
gap that it would be wonderful if there was another list of daycare programs who had specific seats for summer care, but we're one step at a time. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. So I like what you said about um, doing the research, like starting with a list, the list that was available to you at the time, starting with that list, and then just going through the list and realizing that you're like um, collecting all of this information in your head. And the thing that hurts my soul the most is when I spend an hour diving deep into something and you feel like you've gotten all the information in your head and then you click out of the box, right? X out of the box. And then you realize that you don't actually know what you're supposed to know. And when it comes time to actually pull the trigger, like fill out the application or whatever it is, you actually have to go back in and do it again. Right. You have to remember
Mhm.
the website, you have to remember the things, and then it's twice the work, sometimes 3 times the work. And if you're not careful, knowing that you have to do it again keeps you from even finishing the process. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And so that's where something like the toolkit that I created comes in handy because it has everything that you need in one spot so that if you decide today's the day I'm going to review what my options are and then I'm going to fill out the application, right? You've got everything that you need. It tells you ahead of time exactly what you need so that you can come and know that start to finish, maybe 15 minutes after you've decided, right? It's probably going to take you a little while to decide on which programs, but once you've decided, once you have everything in place and in hand, the actual application process is not that hard really across any of the programs that are listed specifically in the toolkit. But I think really the applications are not hard. It's just once you get there and then you realize what you need, you walk away and then you get distracted, mom brain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, my spreadsheets never had tabs like yours does that like walks you through like step one to step four. Like that I thought was like really brilliant. And then when I was talking about applications, when I was doing their youth and rec, I think is the New Haven
Mm-hmm.
Youth and Rec,
The new name.
I literally like had my spreadsheet or my toolkit open and went through and checked off like, do I have a copy of my driver's license? Do I have a copy of their doctor's, and so I went through. It was really helpful because I had 2 packets that was like this thick going into the mail. I could like
It's so
kind of
real.
push it into like it's like, and then you had this helpful video of like, because I was like, where does this go? And of course, I went to the wrong place the first time.
Oh
And then I
no.
went to your place that you showed in the video, and I was like, I'm just gonna put it in the slot like Candice showed me. It was like, it's like sometimes moms need hand holding too.
Yeah.
Like we can't
That's
just be there to hold the hands. We need help too. We need to help each other.
that's
And
so
so,
real.
yeah, I was like, I would not have, yeah, and those are great programs.
Yeah.
Like the youth and rec programs are affordable. They have great hours. They're super close. They seem to have high capacity. I don't know what their limits are. But yeah, thank you for doing that.
Of
Then I
course.
felt like, okay, like I can do
I
this.
can do that's it. He's just like, I can do this. I got this. I also went to the wrong place the first time and to end up downtown and realize that you have left your own neighborhood to go downtown and you're in the wrong place. Like I don't want that for anybody because that's
No.
again when you give up. Like those little it the amount that parents are managing in their brain, like it's like the sand, right? The sand or the pea, the princess and the pea is like one little thing can really just knock you off your game because you were trying to hold so much of it together.
Yep,
So I'm really glad that
absolutely.
those were helpful. And also that pack, because you have twins, I also have 2 boys, not twins. When my husband saw, I did a video of like fanning through the application, and he looked at me and he was like, what's that? I said, that's the summer school application. And he was like, oh, like it was a different level of appreciation when he saw how many pages it was.
Right. And that's one camp.
And that's just
That's
one.
just one. That's
Yes,
the
that's just
crazy
one.
thing.
So let's go. Let's transition to which tool. So I want to give people actual like tips on tools that they can use to help them manage, right? And so something that you mentioned was a Google Doc, but what would you say is your favorite tool that you use to manage schedules?
So I'm definitely like a G Suite, like Google Calendar person. We have like a family one. I have my own version. We have like my work calendars. And my favorite thing in the world, which I've, again, a wish list for summer camps, is that you can, our hockey team had one that you could just show on your calendar. You could click it on and suddenly their whole practice and game schedule appeared. You could click it off and you didn't have to see that.
Right.
Like, how do we, and we did create one of these for this school, for our school, so that families could do that. It seems like the word hasn't gotten out that that's available yet.
Now
But
they're gonna know. Now they're gonna know. So highlight that on the newsletter for our school. If you're watching this and you are a member of our school, there is a link for a Google Calendar, a Gmail calendar. I don't know what it's called. Whatever. There's a link for the Google Calendar for the what is ours called? An FTO,
Mhm.
an FTO, Family
Family teacher
Teacher
organization.
Organization.
Very inclusive. You don't
Yes.
have to be a parent to be part of
Yes.
our organization.
So there is a Google Calendar link on our newsletter, and if you subscribe to it, then it will show up on your calendar just like everything else. And like Jennifer is saying, you can turn it off when it gets a little bit too overwhelming,
Exactly.
but it's
And
always there.
so that I love, and has helped it so that I don't feel like, do we have practice today? What time is the game? And then it's also easy to share with like grandparents or partners. So I'm a huge fan of that. Yeah, so that and then checklists, like I'm a big like Microsoft To Do, or I used to use Outlook's to checklist function. That I think saves me a lot of, like, everything in here goes into there and it gets done.
I love it. I love it. Well, the Google Suite is amazing for that. The version control, right? And in terms of the calendar, that's really important because sometimes you change something on your calendar and then you have to go and tell everybody. And then, that's why a school calendar on Gmail or a, FTO calendar on Gmail helps, because even we got a whole set of new half days that nobody knew about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you think that you made the update, but you didn't actually. And did everybody see it? Like, I really love the cloud, right? And particularly the Google Cloud for that reason. It's really super helpful.
absolutely.
The Google Suite is really helpful for families to manage their schedule, their planning, and we're looking particularly at the calendar, and in this case, the Google Sheets helps to organize information and have your checklist and that kind of thing. And I really think that parents should think about utilizing it for families and for children in this way. I think we have really segmented these as work tools or as things for ourselves, but we even created an email for our kids, right? Because so many times we have to sign up things and I don't know why they ask for a kid email. Even signing up for a COVID test, right? You can only sign up under your own. It's ridiculous. So it's a really good idea to do it in a safe way so that you're not sharing stuff all over the place, but utilize the Google Suite for your family and for your children in this way. It's going to save you a ton of time and energy and brain space. And that's really what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just say too, I think not within family, yes, but also between families, right? So it's helpful also. I've gotten a few questions from my kids' friends, like what camps are they going to? What is their plan for the summer? So I can just take like that one tab and copy it over into another sheet lock it so they can't actually do anything.
Yeah.
And then just I've made it like dash shareable. So it's so I can just share the link and now they know exactly which session of like soccer camp they're part of or which of the youth and rec programs they're on. So I don't need to like be texting back and forth or like coordinating in that way.
I
So I
love
think
that.
even between families,
That
it's
is
been
next
great.
level. Even I didn't think about that because because of this series, I've had people asking me, and even I am texting over and over again. Um, because I didn't even think of that. Are you able to share a single tab or did you make a copy of the document?
I made a copy of it
Yes.
and then removed,
All the other
just yeah,
stuff.
removed everything else. Just it was very clean and it
Yeah.
was just this is their schedule.
I love it.
And
Oh
then
my
just
God, that's
locked
so
it.
good.
So yeah, because I wouldn't want them to be in my toolkit and then
Right?
like change things around. Like
I love it. So
very protective.
it is April 7th. Are you all planned for the summer?
Oh, I was planning. I mean, as soon as your toolkit came out, that entire weekend was like this deep dive into summer camps. And I swear, my one of my friends I was talking to, I was like, I'm gonna be chill this summer. I'm not gonna like freak out about summer camps. I'm gonna be different. And then you dropped the toolkit, and I was just like, okay, like just it was a 180 in my thinking, but I'm so happy I did because they have a sleepaway camp, they have a soccer camp, they have some things with friends, some things where they can make new friends, and there's like a nice balance there. Whereas before I would be, when I see people post on social media, like, anyone have any ideas for summer camp? And I'm like, yes, but like so many things have already like are waitlisted.
Yeah.
It's like you really do kind of have to get on it, in February, March.
Yeah. But that is not to say that there aren't still options available. So don't feel discouraged, right?
Don't
I
feel
actually just
discouraged.
no discouragement, right? Some of them are some of the programs that are most well known around here in our area are waitlisted right now, but there are so many more that are still available. And there are about 12 weeks. I just looked at the calendar. We're at the 12-week mark. And so it's a good time, right? It's a good time. There's still options. There's still options with the city. There's still options with the Schubert. I just talked to the Schubert recently. So don't be discouraged and don't feel like you're behind, because that will stop you from making moves now, right? And now is when you should start, right? I try to be careful with my shoulds, but if you can, start. And something like the Summer Camp Toolkit, or just talking to people that you know, watching something like this, talking to people that you know, checking in on the parent groups and mom groups that you're involved in, you're going to start to find some really good information. And then I would say just be reminded that a summer camp program needs to work for you as much as it works for your children. And so don't overwhelm yourself and stress yourself trying to like bend over backwards to make like specific things work, because then when the time comes, you end up creating more stress for yourself and your child. So make sure that you're taking both of your needs, or all your entire family's needs, into account when you are making these decisions, because what's good for the goose also needs to be good for the gander. I don't know where that came from. That's such an old lady old lady reference.
That's
Really
great. I
good
haven't heard
visual.
that one in a while.
Yeah. So definitely you're not behind, but do take this as your cue, as your trigger to get started. All right. So to that note, I'm really excited. I'm really happy that we met and that we like are eye to eye on this planning wave. I got so many other little ideas that I'm going to share, that I want to share with parents over the next several months, I guess, in ways that I've found that have helped us in my family. I'm a family of 4, keep our wits, right? My husband does a lot, like takes care of a lot of planning, but then there are little things, little big things like summer camp that is not on his radar. And so you can share the weight of this with your partner if you're able to, and then not have to rehash all of the that's another really good thing about the cloud system, is that I just share the calendar with him. He puts everything on our calendar, from like watch movie nights, like it's just very clear. So, I'm really glad that the toolkit has been helpful for you, Jennifer. I'm so excited to hear that your summer is all planned. And I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this. Like you said that you were going to be chill and not be crazy, right? About planning. But planning actually helps you to be chill, right?
Yes,
It is one of these things that we don't realize when we think we want to be spontaneous, but when we don't put a plan in place, then we're actually more frazzled than we are enjoying spontaneity. And something that my husband used to say to me all the time, which used to burn me, just used to upset me. And now I finally get it, is that you are able to be spontaneous because you did the work ahead of time to plan. So
exactly. I think that's so true. And I think it's sort of like the same idea with like being an artist or a writer, that if you have parameters in which you can be creative, it's actually easier to be creative
yes.
in certain ways, than if you were just given like, no boundaries or sort of regulations at all. So,
And that's
yeah.
how I used to feel about summer camp. Oh, I don't want to stress out about it. I'll just like pick one in June. We'll see how we feel, right? I don't want to be in a box. Like, I'll see how we feel. It doesn't feel good. Okay. I'll let you know right now, it doesn't feel good. So any last tips, Jennifer, that you want to share with families before we sign off?
No, I mean, I think I'm still like so curious about summer camps I'm just learning about. So I'm constantly like sending them to you, Candice.
I
Like
love it.
there's like a chess academy. Who knew they had a half day? Or like there's like a tech camp, at one of our local colleges. Like there's so many options, but it unfortunately it does take a lot of time and like dedication to get this all together. But thank you for doing this, because had I had the brilliant insight that you did in 2017 to do this, imagine how much further like we would have been along. So I love that you not only took the time to do this for yourself, but then like made it available to everybody and started this really important conversation about summer camps in our area. So thank you.
Thank you. That was really sweet of you to say. I really appreciate it. I'm just happy to be here, right? And do the thing that I like to do. And I'm really grateful that it's helpful to others because it allows me to keep doing it, right? So thank you. And thank you for sharing your like, people say like find people who are like the same crazy, the same like nerd, nerd out with me. I'm really happy to have found um to found to have found you. I'm really happy to have found you and to get to know you as our boys are connecting so well at school. And so I'm really happy to have you as part of the crew. All right.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So if you have stuck around to this point, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. If you have any questions about the New Haven Summer Camp Toolkit, please don't hesitate to contact me. If you have any camp specific questions, please do reach out directly to the camp. I do not work for the camps or for the city. I am just here collecting all of this information and making it available to you. All right. So, on that note, happy planning. I hope that you have a wonderful summer ahead and that you're able to be as spontaneous as you need to be because you put the work in at this time. When you could. All right. So thank you again for clicking on this video when you saw it pop up on your feed. I'm Candice Dormon of CandiceDormon.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye.